Hello and welcome to Excellence Noir. Today we are talking about Ann Lowe. She was the first Black American to become a noted fashion designer who styled Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy's wedding dress. Ann was born December 14, 1898 in Clayton, Alabama during the post-Reconstruction era, a time when segregation and racial inequality were deeply entrenched in Southern society. She was the great-granddaughter of an enslaved woman and an Alabama plantation owner. Ann attended school in Alabama until she dropped out at the age of 14. Ann's grandmother, Georgia Tompkins, had been enslaved on a plantation and learned to sew from her enslavers, crafting fine gowns for the plantation owner's family. After emancipation, Ann's grandmother, Georgia, used her skills to support herself and her family, passing those techniques and a sense of pride in craftsmanship to her daughter, Janie Lowe, who was Ann's mother. Ann's mother, Janie Cole Lowe, and her grandmother, Georgia Tompkins, were skilled dressmakers who sewed for wealthy white families in the state, and they taught Ann to sew as early as age 5. By the time Ann was 6, she had developed a fondness for using scraps of fabric to make small decorative flowers, patterned after the flowers she saw in the family's garden. By age 10, she made her own dress patterns. According to writer Margaret Powell, Ann indicated she dropped out of school at 14 to marry. In 1912, she married her first husband, Lee Cohen. In 1914, Ann lost her mother unexpectedly. Ann was 16 years old at the time of her mother's death. In 1916, Ann left her husband and moved with her son to Lake Tantasasa outside of Tampa. In 1917, Ann and her son moved to New York City, where she enrolled at St. Taylor Design School. As the school was segregated, Ann could only attend classes in a room by herself. Ann was awarded a degree early thanks to her expertise. She then returned to Florida to resume her business. In 1920, Ann married for a second time to Caleb West, but that marriage also ended. Ann later said, quote, "My second husband left me. He said he wanted a real wife, not one who was forever jumping out of bed to sketch dresses." End quote. Ann later adopted a daughter, Ruth Alexander. Few seamstresses in Tampa could meet Ann's technical standards, so she trained assistants in her workshop, creating a space where other Black women were able to find safe employment and learn new job skills. Having saved $20,000 from her earnings, Ann returned to New York City in 1928 with the hope of establishing a custom design salon, but the Great Depression soon hampered her plans, so she survived by working for larger manufacturers such as Hattie Carnegie and Sonia Gowns, selling her work on commission and maintaining a small circle of private clients, including some in Tampa. In 1946, she designed a dress that Olivia de Havilland wore to accept the Academy Awards for Best Actress for the movie To Each His Own, although the name on the dress was Sonia Rosenberg. So basically, Sonia was claiming work that she didn't even do and putting her name on Ann's dresses and getting a profit from it, which is really dirty. So Ann decided, since she wasn't getting credit for her work, that her and her son, they decided to open a second salon called Ann Lowe's Gowns in New York City on Lexington Avenue in 1950. In 1947, Janet Lee Auchincloss commissioned Anne to create the debutante gowns for her daughters Jacqueline and Caroline Lee Bouvier. In 1953, she returned and hired Anne to design a wedding dress for her daughter, the future First Lady Jacqueline Bouvier, and the dresses for her bridal attendants for her September wedding to then Senator John F. Kennedy. During the 1950s and 1960s, Anne worked on commission for stores such as Henry Bendel, Montaldo's, Chez Sonia, Neiman Marcus, and Saks Fifth Avenue. Her one-of-a-kind designs made from the finest fabrics were on immediate success and attract many wealthy high society clients. Design elements for which she was known include fine handwork, signature flowers, and the trapunto technique. Ebony magazine referred to her as the Dean of American Designers. Throughout her career, Anne was known for being highly selective in choosing her clientele. Quote, she described herself as an awful snob, adding, I love my clothes and I'm particular about who wears them. I am not interested in sewing for cafe society or social climbers. I do not cater to Mary and Sue. I sew for the families of the social register. End quote. Over the course of her career, for several generations of the Auchincloss, Rockefeller, Roosevelt, Lodge, DuPont, Post, Bouvier, Whitney, and Biddle families, and created dresses for many notable black clients as well, including Elizabeth Mance, who was a well-known pianist at the time, and Idella Koki, a member of the Negro Actors Guild. Anne dress for First Lady Jacqueline Bouvier consisted of 50 yards of ivory silk taffeta with interwoven bands of tucking forming the bodice, and similar tucking in large circular designs swept around the full skirt. The dress cost $500, and today it would be $6,000. Anne did not receive public credit for her work until after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Throughout her career, Anne continued to work for wealthy clientele who often talked her of charging hundreds of dollars for her designs. After paying her staff, she often failed to make a profit on her designs. And see, that is so wrong. Here it is. You have very rich people that are being cheap and barely paying this woman for her designs, and she was the best in regards to dressmaking during her time, and they still wouldn't pay her. I bet they would go to one of these high-end boutiques or Neiman Marcus or places like that. I bet they paid the price that was at. That's insane. Anne later admitted that at the height of her career, she was virtually broke. In 1961, she received the Courtier of the Year Award. In 1962, she lost her salon in New York City after failing to pay taxes. That same year, her right eye was removed due to glaucoma. While she was recuperating, an anonymous friend paid Anne's debt that enabled her to work again. In 1963, she declared bankruptcy. Soon after, she developed a cataract in her left eye, in which surgery saved her eye. And in 1968, she opened a new store, Ann Lowe Originals, on Madison Avenue in New York City. She retired in 1972. In the last 5 years of her life, Anne lived with her daughter Ruth in Queens. She died at her daughter's home on February 25, 1981, at the age of 82 after an extended illness. And I just want to say hats off to a remarkable fashion designer I mean, so talented and not appreciated. I'm sure if she was living during this time, she may have got the recognition that she should have got back then. Hats go off to Miss Ann Lowe, a remarkable fashion designer. I tell you, what a talent.